Okay, so I think we're ready to start. Welcome to the second day of the O Digital Summit 2019. Today I have the pleasure to introduce you to the second topic of this fantastic journey that we have started together with a lot of interesting presentation about STEM and coding for inclusion. Today we will mostly focus on basic digital skill. Basic digital skill is one of the founding priorities of first Telecenter Europe and then All Digital, so it's very relevant for us. Therefore, during the first half of the day, we will have the chance to learn about the Digital Competence Development System, which is a key project for All Digital that we are carrying out with several member organizations. And we will also have the chance to understand how the topic of basic digital inclusion has been reinterpreted based on the individual needs and interest of every European citizen. We will stop at 11:15 for a coffee break, and then where I invite you to visit all the interesting stands that you can find in the market. There are a lot of beautiful projects to try out. And then after, we will meet again for the parallel session. So some of you will attend different sessions and workshops. After the workshops, please don't run away, because we have come back here because we have a closing session where you will also discover all the details and the surprises about the working tour for those who will stay, the working tour in Bologna, for those who will stay during the afternoon. So I would suggest to start. We have some other communication.
Sorry. Before we go to the parallel sessions, at 11:45, please come back here for 5 minutes, because today is Mr. Golinelli's 99th birthday, and 99th-year birthday. And we are giving him the card that many of you signed, saying happy birthday in different languages, and some flowers. And he has put in his agenda that he will be here to say hello, and we will give the flowers. So this should be at 11:45, and then we all go to the breakout sessions, okay? I forgot to tell you a story.
Yeah, no problem. It's nice to cooperate also during the event. So then let's start, and please join me in inviting Mrs. Francesca Montemagno here at the stage for the first keynote speech. She's co-founder and manager partner at Smartiv.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So I have my, don't need pen. Yeah. So I'll try to, yeah, it's okay. So thank you for inviting me. It's really a pleasure to join you today. And of course, today we will start a journey, and I'll try to share the discovery that we did with Smartiv in the last few years, dealing with digital transformation and the main organization, profit and no profit. As I told before, and also share with Gabriella, I'm here for Smartiv and for the experience we are doing, also using the DigiCom framework for competence. But I share also, in some of the following slides, the experience I have the luck to live with the Comune di Milano as a person dealing with the open data culture. So we are trying to spreading among citizens and association also a particular kind of digital skill in order to read among data, in order to understand how the administration, how the municipality is doing its work. And I'm also strong engaged in the civil society through some of no-profit activities, like the one that links me to Marco Cappato with Associazione Coscioni. So I know also which are the issue, the topics that you touch while you are working with citizens, with people, with active citizens, in order to let them involve in the digital scenario. So let's start our discovery. I would like to invite, I think that it doesn't, yeah, it works too much. Sorry. So, welcome in the Nova Cene. This morning, it's a sort of breaking news. We, as James Lovelock said in its latest book, he's a scientist, he's an independent scientist, quite young, 100 years old, like Mr. Golinelli. He has a vision for the future, so it's a matter of mindset. And he said that we enter in a complete new era, the Novacene, the age of hyper-intelligence. It's about the developing of intelligence, artificial intelligence. It's about, he tried to have a vision about the next future, and he says that perhaps our Earth, Gaia, on which he based his complete theory, will be in some way populated by new beings, not only humans, not humanoid as we can imagine, and they will transfer themselves through the thoughts, they will feed themselves through energy. So the books, in some way, it's a sort of dystopia. It's like watching a TV series on Netflix, like the Man on High Castle, when you try to imagine what could happen in the world if just one thing's happen in a different way. So we are perhaps a bit scared about, bit scared about the future. We speak a lot about the artificial intelligence. It seems that human beings could have anymore a role, but James Lovelock is optimistic and positive, and he says that in this new brand era, we have a new role, that is the typical one of human beings. So in this kind of context, we need to decode, so we need to do what is natural for us, thinking and being creative, for instance. And most of all, we need to decode the ecosystem in which we are surfing. So it means that we need to learn how to live in networks and communities. It means that we need to learn how to co-create, so how we can cope with algorithms and dashboards. So we need to find new compasses, and most of these compasses are among digital skills. We need also to learn how to evaluate. Everything around us is datified. We produce data even if we are not conscious. Just think, how many devices do you have in your pocket or in your bag, for instance? And of course, we need to listen. So if we are living complex times, it means that in order to succeed in our purpose, because each of us has personal and professional purpose, we need to navigate the continuous change. So the new norm is the continuous change, but it's also the lifelong learning, as you know better than me. And we are, so I strongly think that we need also to develop another capacity, another skill, soft skill. We need to dream. We need to dream a future. We need to dream also and to shape, in order to be able to shape a role in the future among the beings designed and described by James Lovelock. So it seems that we will change a lot in the next 20 years than it happened in the last 300 years. What does it mean? It means that we need to reactivate a part of our brain, the one linked to the flexible thinking. So as human beings, our history, we face our history and also the evolution using the right one, in order to preserve ourselves, in order to also create some comfort zone that were useful in order to build the different brick of our society. But it's time to become creative in our professional life and our personal life, because we are all requested to unleash a bottom-up effect. So we need to spread new ideas, we need to innovate, we need to cope with a revolution, but it's not just a matter of method. We need also to use our critical thinking resources, our creative resources. So, as James Lovelock says, where artificial intelligence ends, human creativity starts. So let's try to understand why are we so scared by the technology. It's just because it's a way that push us out the comfort zone. It's about the different speed on which the technology evolves itself, the speed with which the society change itself. So I'm Italian, I'm half Italian, half Austrian, but we know that sometimes politics, for instance, is quite far from the feeling of the civil society, for instance. So it is another demonstration that our society change with a speedier pace than politics, than also the framework in which all the organizations are moving themselves. So we feel scared because our speed of adaptability, it's not like the one of technology and society. And this kind of feeling, it's not new. I just surf in Google and I find these 3 different covers of Der Spiegel, a German magazine, maybe you know it. And since 16, we are speaking about automation. So we are scared about being replaced by a robot. As you can see by the visual of the covers, we started designing, drawing, sketching a robot and make it more anthropomorphous. Now there is a news. We are scared just because we are not just speaking about production line, supply chain, we are speaking about our daily life. The last cover is about a robotic hand that keep us out our office, out our daily routine. This is quite new. So even if technology is around us, even if we can say that we are living in a post-digital society because of the devices we use, the system, the platform we need in order to be consumer, in order to be citizen, in order to be prosumer, we can affirm, we can say that in this era of change, technology is just enabling us doing things that we could even imagine few years ago. Before my life in Smartive, I was a communication and marketing director, and in order to produce a video, I should have professional figures, and I should rent also different kind of devices in order to enable them. Because that technology were expensive, and also the kind of skill should be really shaped. Now we know that all of us with digital, we can become broadcaster, we can produce, I don't say professional video like the one, because it is important to recognize the value of our competition and professional skills, but we are enabled to do something that we could not imagine just few years ago. So the digital transformation, the change we are requested to face is about human factor. It's about our behaviors, it's about our mindset, it's about our ability to get in the game and get dirty. With Smartive, we try to let understand the organization which is their need. Last year, the forum in Davos, the World Economic Forum, has been opened by the founder, saying that something failed in the last 3 years when was about digital transformation. And it was because all the leaders, all the organization focus and highlight just the role of technology. So they thought to the maps how to review the business transformation, the business model, and of course they thought that the solution was represented by adopting new tools. It's like having a car. If I have a powerful car, if I have a wonderful destination, but I'm not able to drive, I cannot reach any destination. So we forgot perhaps the human factor, the human capital. And in order to let succeed this digital transformation, we need to have people on board, and we need to also accept that we are just living a cultural revolution. And of course, we are living a cultural clash, because we said before, we need to reactivate our flexible thinking, and we need also to accept that it's not just about technology, it's about gender, generation, to be mixed together. So we can cope with that cultural clash if we put at the center the diversity and also the new way of learning. And we are trying to cope with change. It's not just a single event. When we speak about change and transformation, we just visualize an event, an hackathon, or just putting together people and let them immerse for one time in something that is amazing and wonderful. But of course, we know that change doesn't happen by chance, and we need time in order to understand how it works. So we need to create a consciousness moment, and of course we need to prepare our people to change. So we need to envision them, but then we need to let them experiment. So it starts the second phase, that is one of the most difficult in a process of change, that is dealing with the commitment, the engagement of people, and let them find a role in this kind of process. Then we need to go ahead and also contaminate the people that are not so confident or a bit resistant for different reasons. And then after months, we will produce some effects related to change. In this way, we can support our organization in their transformation, becoming a smart organization. I don't say digital because, you know, when you use the word digital, you think just to technology. Being smart means that we align our behavior, we align the vision, we align also the goals and the way we evaluate the performance of the organization. So we need to let them working and learning by doing, but also by sharing. So these are the pillars of the methodology we adopt. For instance, it is a mix of change management and open innovation. We need the method of change management, but we need also the pillars, the principle adopted in an open innovation ecosystem. And we need to know who are the people involved. As I mentioned before, we developed a tool using the DigiComp framework, and we use this tool in order to map the organization, in order to understand which are the agents of change, which are the embracer of change, but also who are the confident one. And then this map helps us to customize the learning journey we offer to the organization. We say that we are surfing in the ecosystem, and among the new skills that are relevant for us, there are the social competencies. So when we map the organization, we try also to understand which are the central connectors, for instance, in order there is just something fly around me, sorry. It's a sort of keynote animated, a GIF, definitely. So we try to identify the central connector, for instance, because we need somebody that help us in taking the unity of the process. And then we need also the knowledge brokers, the one that help us in delivering information and also new knowledge among the organization. And we need to not forget the border connectors. So people that in some way are linking our organization to the rest of the ecosystem. And they have really a hard duty that is about the feedback, managing feedbacks from one direction to another. So, as we said, Lovelock, Mr. Golinelli, 90 years old, 100 years old. I think that change, of course, we need a lot of energy. So some generation, being part of the younger generation give perhaps an advantage, but I think that the older, the senior, have another advantage. That is the one about the experience, and on the experience you can base the right mindset to face change. So in order to be digitally competent, it's not just being able to log in and log out, knowing perfectly how to surf a platform. Of course, we need, but it is most important to understand the mindset, the logic behind those tools. Also because digital comes from digit, so if we want to move right our finger on our keyboards, we need to first think in the right way. So we need to develop transversal competence, and we need also to develop the critical thinking and the collaboration mindset. I share with you perhaps something that you had already the chance to read. From year to 2022, we should need, in order to be aligned with the most basic changing, about 101 days of learning. So it means that we have to accept that we have to switch to the lifelong learning mindset. And of course, we cannot face this kind of mindset if we go ahead with the traditional method and approach of learning. So if we want to develop this kind of competencies, soft skills and digital skills, we need to switch to something new. And we need to help our people with their learner ability. And what does it mean? I put corporate just among brackets because it's relative to the organization. We need to design new learning experience. They should be immersive, experiential, like we live our experience while we connect to our Spotify or Netflix. So we need to, in some way, review our way of learning with the XCast in order to deliver customized experience. Immersive, they should be in some way linked to the flow of work. It's not because I'm out of office that I'm doing something that I cannot reverse in my daily life. It should be linked to what I'm doing. Of course, we need to encourage also the peer-to-peer learning. As we say, learning by sharing. It means that if we share our experience, we can learn something about the best practice and also how each of us is facing the different issues and barriers toward change. Then we need also, and this is really important for all the organization, we need to set a playground for experimentation in order to fight the bad feeling towards the culture of mistake. In each organization, if we speak about mistake, it is always something that creates a bad mood. It's a matter of culture, background. So Then we need to enable our people to agility. We say that we are living in a VUCA world and we need to be flexible. Most of all, we need to measure the impact of learning. It's not just about the satisfaction of the participants, it's what, with our learning, we can produce for the organization itself. So it's about a proper tracking of what we produce. We need to help and we need to co-create a sort of empowered learner. And as I said, we need to deliver something intuitive and time-friendly. We don't have so much time, and we cannot just switch from what we do every day to have 7 days of learning. But we need also to understand that even 5 minutes per day, like it happens in some organizations like Google, Airbnb, and other former startups, we can take just few minutes in order to learn something new and to try something new. We need also to create a sort of stage in which the learning performance happens. And we need, of course, use the right tools and the right platform. It doesn't mean that we have bad or good platform, but we need to find the right one, the sites that is right for the organization we are dealing with. And we need to design new experience. Here, there are different formats we use in order to make this kind of exponential learning happens among the organization. So the sharing group, where the organization meets other organizations, other peers, also from other industry or fields, and they just share the common issue. Because it's not about me and them, us and them. Change, it's quite the same for all of us. We need also to find new location, because we need to explore the ecosystem. We need to support this discovery at first step. We need also to find other kind of format like the digital breakfast. Just brief moment where we meet, we share, we open our minds to new scenario. We need to execute, deliver. So it means that we can consider the working group, the pilot project, also as new learning experience. Of course, we need to adopt new design thinking tools. We need to also accept that tools are not just digital. Sometimes we need to unplug in order to be more conscious while we plug in. And in this era, in the Novacene, I think that another futurist find the right sentence to make it brief but clear. Definitely, we need to work on the learning experience, but we need also to accept that in order to shape the new mindset, we need to learn and unlearn. What does it mean? We all studied and imagined that what we studied during our university times, master times, could be useful in order to shape our professional and future ladder. Now we need to accept that everything changed and we grow just through experiences, like in a bento box. When we eat through a bento box, our menu is organized through a logic, and we go discovering the different flavor following an experience that was designed. So we need to apply that bento box mindset to our life, to our profession, and accept that we need every day learn and relearn, and of course we need to support somebody and their upskilling and reskilling. I hope to be on time, and I hope that this could be some inputs for further discussion. So thank you again, and of course if we want to produce change, we need to be, first of all, change agent and be aware that every 100 meters the world is changing and we are part of it, luckily. So thank you very much and keep in touch also through the social.
Thank you very much, Francesca. Thanks a lot. See, really, thanks a lot again for this inspiring presentation that put us in the flow of change and give us the chance to really reflect all together, sharing our thoughts about what it means to have basic digital skills nowadays. Digital transformation is perceived as a really problematic and imperative change by all those who don't have the skills or don't have the tools to cope with it or to adapt timely. This is what we have discovered with the first phase of the DCDS project, the research phase that I'm now going to introduce. And well, I also want to comment that in the era where the younger generation are screaming out, crying out the lack of natural resources, we should really, as you said, we should think about the hyperconnectivity as a resource. Today, human beings are probably the only resource which is higher in amount compared to other resources than yesterday. So it's not about overpopulation, it's about connecting people and create the chance for a collaborative and cooperative change. Let's go to the DCDS project. You will have the chance, Francesca will stay with us the day, so you will have the chance to speak with her during the coffee break. Now, let's speak about DCDS. Well, with 4 out of 5 partner countries, which had average score below the European one of the DESI scoring index. DCDS was not only a great opportunity for all digital to implement new pilots and involve local and national stakeholders, but it really represented a real experimentation for those who are working in the active promotion of basic digital skills. I'm inviting here at the stage 3 representatives of the partners of the project who will support us in understand how we could exploit the Digital Competence Framework of the European Commission, and how we can also promote an update of the e-inclusion plans at national and European level. So please, I would like to invite Achilles Cameas from the Hellenic Open University, Stefano Kluser from AECA, and Peter Pavlogi from O Digital here together with me to speak about DCDS.
Yeah, I will start, and my part will be relatively short because I'm going to talk about a project overview with the rationale behind objectives and what we have achieved. But then I will ask Stefano to take us into the methodology behind this system, and Achilles Cameas to present, highlight the platform, the online learning tool which is supporting the methodology, and also explain how the system as a whole could work. So the Digital Competence Development System, and I liked, Alteo, that you were referring to as DCDS. Maybe not everyone in this room is fully aware that DCDS means Digital Competence Development System. Is a European-funded project by Erasmus+, this Key Action 3 program, which is funding transnational cooperation projects. And it's a policy experiment project to identify, test, develop, and assess innovative policy approaches. It's very important. And as it was mentioned, it's a very nice partnership. We have 2 European networks. All Digital is the coordinator of the project, and we have the European Association for the Education of Adults from Belgium. And all the other partners are All Digital member organizations, IECA from Bologna, Centro Studi Foligno from Foligno, EOS Foundation from Romania, Esplai Foundation from Barcelona, Hellenic Open University from Greece, and LICTA from Latvia. And if I'm not mistaken, in this room, many of us, or some of us, are somehow involved in the implementation of the DCDS project. Could you please raise your hand if you are, in a way, part of this experiment? So you can see quite many of us. And please take the opportunity to talk any of us. The project is also presented at the marketplace, and we will have the opportunity after the plenary session to organize a workshop, how-to workshop, where we can explain how this works. So why we need a DCDS and All Digital? Well, one of the missions of All Digital is to have those 43% of Europeans who do not have the sufficient digital skills. And I think we all agree in this room that today everyone needs to have at least basic level of digital skills in order to play an active role in the society, to succeed in the labor market, and to play an active life. And our response to improve basic digital skills is the Digital Competence Development System, which we designed, developed, tested as an integrated modular system, completely mapped to the Digital Competence Framework. And Stefano will explain us how we made this mapping. The system is to assess, to develop, and to validate basic digital skills and transversal skills of adults. And we have also tried this system in 5 European countries. So what we wanted to achieve, improve basic digital and transversal skills of adults who are 25-plus-year-old citizens who have low digital skills in a blended environment which combines face-to-face learning and supported by an online system. We also want to support non-formal training providers. So many of you who are planning and delivering flexible and modular training offers, and we believe it's very important that it's mapped to the digital competence framework of the European Commission. We also like to empower policymakers and other key stakeholders from different fields in formulating integrated policies for developing and recognizing adult citizens' basic skill competencies. And nevertheless, we wanted to collect and analyze evidence to validate innovative policies and practices. So what we have achieved already, and this is a 2-year project which we are about to finish, we have developed a digital competence development methodology, an environment which is supporting the implementation of the methodology in a blended learning approach. We have conducted a piloting activity, and a piloting result or evaluation report is already available. And what we are working on now is a policy influence toolkit. A policy influence toolkit for training providers who can use this toolkit in their practices. And we are formulating also policy recommendations for policy stakeholders. So the pilot was implemented in 5 countries: Latvia, Italy, in Italy 2 locations, Spain, Greece, and Romania, in the period of March to June in a blended learning approach. 176 participants were involved in the course from different target groups: seniors, employed, teachers, migrants, adults with low digital skills, and 13 trainers. And it's the other way. Yeah, and the results, I mean, we have, I think, impressive results, and it shows the increase of self-confidence and also skills for the target, from the target audience. So participants were asked to evaluate their skills before and after the training, and the results show that they have improved their knowledge in many areas, especially in software, in office software use and basic steps online. But I think it's equally important that they said that their self-confidence have increased during the course of the training, the learning activities. So the credentials to the project, you can learn and find more information on the project website and the online training platform, which the domain is digitalcompetences.eu. And then, yeah, basically that's about the basic project information, and I'd like to ask Stefano to guide us through the methodology.
How does it work?
Press this right button, and then goes ahead. The left button.
Okay, thank you. So moving into the, what did we actually do? I will summarize now the methodology, and then the workshop we have after the coffee break, we will give more details. So as was mentioned before, we started the project explicitly mentioned that we would use and cover all the 21 Digicom competencies. We won't go through them. Most of you, all of you are aware about them. We're talking about the digital competence for all citizens. I don't know how much familiar you are with Digicom, but I just give you an example of what Digicom says. Digicom Competence 2.5, which is in area communication and collaboration online, is about netiquette. And the descriptor of the competence is to be aware of behavioral norms and know-how while using digital technologies and interacting in digital environments, to adapt communication strategies to the specific audience, and to be aware of cultural and generational diversity in digital environments. As you can see, these are, okay, in the Digicom 2.1, these statements are articulated into 8 proficiency levels. So these things mean different things depending on which level you are in this 8-level scale. But we were working in DCDS. The goal was work only on level 1 and 2, which in Digicom is foundation level, so-called foundation level, which basically means that you develop some skills, a degree of autonomy, but you may be still dependent on somebody's support to actually achieve the things you want to do. The problem is, as you can imagine, I mean, you start from such general and somehow abstract descriptors. It's very difficult to create a training course or a self-assessment system as we were planning to do. So the first step of our project was to translate this general statement into observable behavior that indicates the existence of related skills, knowledge, and attitudes, which are the key components of digital competence. And these are called, can be understood as learning outcomes. So we went through a process which I will explain later, not now. And the 21 Digicom competencies at foundation level were translated into 95 learning outcomes. How did we use learning outcome? I should have given an example, is like I can do this and that under certain circumstances, basically. We used these learning outcomes in the first place to create a self-assessment test. Our self-assessment test is not a self-assessment test that measures exactly your digital competence. The goal of DCDS SAT is to check if you are lacking certain little up to very much. And then you have 41 knowledge and ability questions which check if actually you have certain skills. not through simulations or practical exercises, it's knowledge, but we can check if you, for instance, are able to understand that an icon is related to a given application, or what is which one of 3 different names is a browser rather than a search engine, and so on. Based on the result of this self-assessment test, there is a recommender tool which automatically integrates the data from the learner profile, which are collected in the process of registration of the learner to the course, and suggests this learner should go to take a given learning path. Because we also use the 95 learning outcomes to create 64 learning units. So you can see that learning units aggregate, address typically 1, 2, 3 learning outcomes. Then learning units were aggregated, structured into 19 thematic modules, which address a broader topic. For instance, files and folders management, when you have to create folders, copy and paste files into the folders, and so on. Or creating an account and using email safely. This is 2 examples of our modules. And modules, in turn, were combined into 6 learning paths, following more or less this kind of hierarchical structure. This is the instructional architecture at a glance. You see the learning outcomes combined into learning unit, which combine into modules, and then we have 4 learning paths. These 4 learning paths are, we call one, it's the big one, let's say, the starting step, which is actually quite large. We call it learning path base because it's the basic, the starting point. And you can see that it contains 3 broad topics: browsing and email, file management, online services, public and private online services, and notions of online safety and correct behavior. And then being able to develop some basic ICT operations like downloading and installing an app, and so on, and some basic skills to continue in a self-learning perspective, making the students aware that on the web you find lots of answers to most of any question you may have. Then the course envisaged in the pilots that we did, students were expected to take the 40 hours of learning path base, and then they could choose either learning path communication and social media, if that we envisaged more in a leisure time perspective, even though communication services and social media today are very important also for work. And another learning path which is about digital content creation, which is more, it's where we develop the typical word processing, spreadsheets, presentation, some basic skills in this area. And then we have an additional, because we had to cover all 21 competences of DigiComp, we had the so-called residual, the competencies which are actually difficult to develop at a basic level, like programming, which is one of the competencies in DigiComp, which is very difficult to approach for somebody who has never, who has no basic digital skills. But we put in here also like creative use of digital technology and other aspects. In total, our students were supposed to go through, let's say the design of this course envisaged about 60 hours, of which 40 to be delivered face-to-face and 20 to be taken through distant learning. Yes. Why did we decide to go for a blended learning approach with these kind of students? Because why not, first of all, try a fully distant learning project? Because the potential DCDS users, by definition, this was our project target, are people with very low digital skills who, in principle, are unfamiliar with digital platform, so we couldn't imagine really to have a course entirely delivered online. We also knew in advance, and we confirmed through the pilots, that people with these low digital skills, which often means, not always, but often means also either weak education background or a very distant education background. People, for instance, senior people who have studied many, many years ago. They prefer a direct contact with teacher and tutor. This is very much appreciated. And in fact, they also very often enjoy studying together with other peers like them. So the learning experience is a social experience. And often these learners have very limited autonomous learning capacity. And distant learning means basically that you are on your own in front of a computer, tablet, or today even a smartphone, and you're doing things on your own. So if you're not confident and used to autonomous learning, a fully distant learning course would have been an impossible challenge. But then why, given this target group, we decided to try a distant, a blended learning, so with some distant learning component. Flexible delivery and individualized learning is facilitated by the use of an online platform for digital learning. You gain additional study time through the idea of homework. Then we can tell it didn't happen in practice. In our courses, almost nobody actually studied at home. Everybody used and enjoyed very much to use the platform during classroom time. So this was kind of the main discovery, let's say, of our project. It creates an opportunity to learn and practice digital skills in the learning process itself, because some tasks you are asked to do them on a digital platform. So you start acquiring digital skills in the process itself, and then you learn the fact that you can learn things through digital opportunities. We developed a blended learning system, but there are plenty of not so much blended, but distant learning opportunities on the web. The learning materials that we develop, we will illustrate them later in more details. We have some reading materials, very limited. We call them on key topics. In each learning unit, there are from 1 to 3 learning quizzes and practical exercises, which provide, the learning quizzes in particular provide formative feedback. So if you give a wrong answer, you get an explanation of why the answer was wrong. And at the end of all the learning units which make up a module, you have a summative test that you have to pass. Because if you pass with a score above 60% of the test, you are issued a module badge. If you pass all the modules belonging to a learning path, you're issued a learning path badge. And we also issue Digital Competence, let's say, badges, which are issued when you pass all the learning units, which are often in different modules and learning paths related to a given competence. Our modules do not reflect one-to-one the Digital Competencies, because the Digital Competencies, from a didactic point of view, are not necessarily easy or meaningful to deliver as such. So we recombine them in a different way, which complicates a little bit the issuing of competence badges. This is it. If you want to understand better how we went through all these steps and giving you examples and so on, the workshop after the coffee break is about that. Thank you.
Yes, Achilles we will illustrate us the platform, the digital environment that we created for the project.
Good morning. Following Stefano's presentation, in which he detailed the methodology we developed and the way we approached teaching about DigiComp, I will now present the platform we developed to support this methodology. You already saw that there is a big innovation in the way we actually sliced and then recombined DigiComp competence, the learning outcomes based on DigiComp competencies into learning paths. And now I remember, I'm not sure I'm pointing correctly. Yeah, okay. Well, the platform, you can find it at the address to the bottom, you can see to the bottom right. And it has two modes of operation, one for teachers, trainers, and one for students. I'm going to show mostly the student mode. So the student clicks and goes to the platform, and then firstly has to register. And during registration, we collect some data, not only demographic data, but also some data about preferences and intentions that are used later by the recommender system. Once the student is registered, enters the environment, the training environment, which is, and the different tools offered by the platform and the different services are visualized on a dashboard on the top of the screen. There you can see that we offer, we allow the student to edit profile, and then we offer the self-assessment tool, then the learning paths, then the badges, and also there are some play-like, game-like features in the system. To the right of the page, one of these game-like features is shown the experience points that the student is collecting throughout the training path, and with these experience points, by collecting more and more, the student changes, goes to higher levels of seniority, let's say, regarding digital skills. And to the bottom are displayed the learning paths that the student can follow. But first, the student has to go, I mean, this is the full cycle use of the system. Of course, some of its tools can be used independently as well. Well, first, after giving the profile and entering the profile, the student has to go through the self-assessment tool. As Stefan already said, the self-assessment tool relates to all 21 competencies of Digicom, where in this way we can have right from the start a complete picture of the students' capabilities and gaps, and then the recommender tool will use this information and contains two kinds of questions, self-assessment questions and knowledge and ability questions that the student is asked to answer. Of course, we make the assumption that the answers are frank, and then based on the answers, here are some examples of the questions that the student is asked to answer, and then to the bottom left you see there is a progress bar visualizing the progress that the student is making through the self-assessment test. In the newer version of the platform, it will be possible to use parts of the self-assessment test. Now, in this version, I'm showing you the student has to go through the entire self-assessment test. So, at the end of the self-assessment, the recommender tool that is embedded in the platform combines data from the student profile and the answers the student gave to the different questions of the self-assessment test and comes up with a recommendation. The recommendation is like, you know this, you don't know that, so you should take this training. And then the student is asked, because as Stefan already said, we address the low levels of Digicom, and we understand that the students, they don't have high digital competencies, so we advise them to go to consult with a tutor, with a trainer, on the report that they got from the self-assessment test on how to continue. And the way to continue is to choose one of the learning paths, so to enter the e-learning environment and be trained on digital competencies. There is a long learning path, let's say, that we call the base path, which contains all the, let's say, important Digicom competencies, and then there are some elective learning paths that the student can choose after finishing the base path. The learning paths are organized, contain modules, and within each module there are learning units, there are forums of discussion, and in the end there are tests. Yeah, here you can see a screen showing the learning paths, and within the base learning path you can see the different modules that the student can choose and go on with them. And within each learning path, the student can access a forum with announcements, a forum for specific discussion for this specific module, different learning units, and then in the end comes the summative tests. The screen looks more or less like this, and to the right you still see the gaming element, student gathering experience points. Then at the end we have assessment, quizzes, exercises, and students are asked to click on different options and fill and finish the assessment, go through the assessment procedure. This is, for example, one example of a quiz, of a question that the student is asked to answer. The teacher, now this is visible only to the teacher, to the trainer, gets a report of the student's performance through the quizzes, the different quizzes at different stages. That's another screen of the report. And also can see how things are going for the entire class with what has been submitted and what is missing through the learning process. And then at the end of each stage of learning, if the student successfully completes it, is awarded with badges. This is our, let's say, end of the assessment and the means of certifying students' knowledge. There are badges for the paths, badges for the modules, and badges for the competencies. Here I have listed only some examples. The badges are sent to the students, and they can be used, they can be added, they are added in their profile in this platform, but they also can be used in different occasions. They are online badges. And finally, the training is being annotated, let's say it's been amplified with some games. Some of them are simple games like this one that actually is a Moodle plugin that we have used. But in parallel, we have developed a simple point-and-click game that students can go through and at the end of the process and just become more confident that they can apply the skills they have acquired through the training. That's an online game. It's based on the idea of missions. So a mission integrates a set of competencies to achieve something. So at the beginning, the student is giving with a description of a context. In this case, it says, there is a message here. It says you are taking a break from work as usual. When you hear a beeping sound, you see a little notification pop up on your phone, incoming email from CEO, and then the student has to point and click to different parts of the screen to go through this mission. And there are always new stages of the mission coming up. Yep. Okay. What is the browser you should use? And there is a hovering, you can see to the top right, a hovering robot with the question actually. And then there are hotspots on the screen marked with red dots, and the student has to go and check and find the correct answer by clicking on the hotspots, and so on. So this is the correct answer. The student has to find the browser among this set of applications. And as we proceed, there are more complex tasks like book online a ticket, print your ticket, install antivirus software, and so on. Okay, that was the platform. Now, all of this is integrated into what we call DCDS. DCDS, this is the whole system, and it contains the methodology, the platform, a set of handbooks that we have produced, a handbook for the training organization and handbook for the trainer, and also the system can produce a CV supplement for the trainee, summarizing the achievements of the trainee within the system, which are online in digital format, are represented as badges. Yeah, we have been through this, the methodology, as I said, the different learning paths, and the platform with all the tools embedded, the recommender tool, the learning environment, the communication tool. I forgot to say, but probably you understood that the platform is based on Moodle, has been developed using Moodle. And this is my final slide. Coming to integrating all of this, we are looking now for ideas for exploitation of this outcome, of the outcomes of this project. And there are different kinds of exploitation. The whole system can be reused, can be taken up as it is, or parts of it, like the methodology, the content, or maybe extend to higher level DigiComp, to higher levels of DigiComp by adding more content or designing different learning paths, or use the tools independently, for example, the SAT, or add new games and so on. All of this you will have the opportunity to see and talk about during the workshop we are organizing this after the coffee break, where you will, our tutors will take you through, give you a walkthrough of the platform, more detailed, showing live the different tools and the game, and then we can have a discussion about ideas for exploitation of DCDS. And I'm closing by saying that I showed you the first version of the platform, version 1. We're now working and will be finalizing by next month version 2 with a much better user interface and functionality based on the comments we received from the piloting. Thank you very much. We're waiting to see you at the workshop.
Thanks a lot, Achilles. Well, I had some questions that I want to ask. Just want to mention that the details, the account details to enter the platform will be given during the workshop this afternoon, so join us. And I just want to give the word to Stefano for a final comments about what you have learned with the DigiComp work you have done with DCDS. But very quick, because we are late.
We're late? No. Yes? We are. No, okay. So, a few comments. The use of blended learning with this kind of target audience, it worked, not as we expected. We had, as inevitably it happens in this kind of projects, some problems in the project implementation. So we had the platform available later than expected, so we could test the platform for shorter time with the trainees than we had planned originally. So some considerations which may have come from a more extended use of the platform, we cannot really make them in a strong way, but still we had a very mixed reaction. So depending on the groups of learners, some were, and let's say everybody was enthusiastic, except from an initial being afraid about it, okay? Because they never saw something like that and they were scared how we use it and so on. But almost all the learners, even those with less skills, were excited at the idea of having a learning platform that would support their process. So there was a positive attitude towards the use of the platform. The platform was eventually used a lot as a digital support tool in the delivery of training in the classroom, rather than we had envisaged at the beginning as something to be used as a distance by people after the course. Because it goes, I think, with two reasons. One is probably people didn't feel confident enough, or because the platform is indeed not so easy to use, so to use it on their own at home, for instance. But also because they clearly stated that they prefer to have the learning experience together in front of a teacher that can immediately provide a feedback, an explanation, guide them in the process, and so on. So I have an open question mark on how much such a tool would be taken up by learners on a longer period. This is, for instance, something that in a future project might be interesting to test. With low-skilled learner, how long does it take to become familiar and become confident in using such a tool on their own? And the other thing, as I said, that it's very different groups reacted in different ways. So some people, let's say, like teachers, they didn't have any problem using the platform on their own. Senior people, maybe they didn't have problems, but they said very clearly, we enjoy the social aspect of coming to a class and learn using computers, so we don't want to study at home. We want to study with everybody else in the classroom. It's more fun and it's more interesting. talking about the peer-to-peer learning that we heard about before. And also, we were definitely over-optimistic about the length of, we had designed the course, because it was written in the project, 40 plus 20 hours. With the 40 hours, we managed to go through basically learning path base. At the end of the training period, almost no one managed to, well, some partners did, but almost the other partners couldn't really move on to the complementary learning path because basically the time had expired. And again, this probably reflects the type of audience we had with some learners. In some pilots we had, for instance, many migrants, and there was a language issue. The platform was designed and written in a way to be simple to understand, but still in the national language. So if you have a migrant who is not proficient in Italian as a second language or so on, it takes much longer. And so it was very, we have a lot of interesting data that we collected through the pilots. If there is any student doing a master or a PhD on these topics, digital inclusion, digital training, it would be very interesting because we, of course, in the project, this is not the purpose to develop a research side, but I think it would be very interesting to look through the data that we collected about the users. We did surveys before and after the tests. We have lots of data produced on the platform that we haven't really looked at because it was not the goal of the project. So it might be interesting, in fact, to explore deeper, and I think we could learn more things.
Okay, thank you, Stefano, for these comments, but I'd like to close on a positive note, in a positive way. DCDS was a really good experience for us. We learned a lot of stuff, but please keep in mind that the DCDS is a complete system. It's not just a platform or just a methodology or just a content. You have to understand it as a complete approach, integrated approach, which started from redesigning the way Digicom should be taught and then creating a whole system, including the platform and the content, which of course has a strong face-to-face component. It's the entire experience that we are proposing you to take up, the entire system, and we think it's worth it, despite, of course, the various problems that came up during the piloting, but that's why we have version 2. We are correcting as much as we can.
Thank you very much. So now I invite Ekaterina for the lightning talks.
Thank you. Now we need to have some gender balance in the session now. Very happy to introduce the 4 lightning talks on the projects that deal with mainly basic digital skills, and you will hear 4 projects that deal with different target groups. And first, my colleagues are helping with presentations. I hope they're ready. The first project that we are going to show you is actually quite similar to DCDS, and it's called Ask for Job. And I invite Andrea Ranelletti from Erifo to present it and see all the similarities and differences, how the digital competences are approached, helping people to find the jobs. Yeah. Are we ready with the presentation? Yes, perfect.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'm Andrea Ranelletti. I work for Erifo, which is an employment agency that's in Rome, and we are working, we put together other 10 organizations that are still active, more or less, all in the service of employment, to realize this specific project that's called Ask for Job, which is, as Ekaterina said, in a certain sense similar to DCDS, but has a more employment-oriented, labor-oriented approach. We are trying to realize, it's still going on, it's in the second year of implementation, over 3 years, tailor-made instrument to support long-term, low-skilled, unemployed adults to find new job opportunities. We are doing it through an integrated approach that's doing a self-assessment at the beginning, is doing a series of capability MOOC, so a MOOC to implement a series of activity that is going to support them in understanding how to increase their opportunities to find job through new digital competencies, and then we do a piloting at the end. This is how the process of realization of the self-assessment tool at the beginning worked. It was made on a thorough research done with the support of a series of employment agencies from all over the countries of the partnership, which are Italy, Greece, Lithuania, Spain, Turkey, Bulgaria, and Poland. We spoke with a lot of people. We put together a lot of inputs and information that helped us in shaping a good report and understanding what digital skills, what digital competencies, and what cognitive competencies are going to help them, these low-skilled adults, in finding new opportunities for their future employment. And it was very interesting and full of stimuli. And it is still going on in a certain sense. It will improve also after a series of new works that we are doing at this time. What could be improved? At the beginning, it was difficult to understand specifically what was the point of departure of the individuals that we were trying to support. Let's say that, first of all, when you're working with 8 different countries in a KA2 Erasmus project, you need to understand how to build a language that is a shared language between all the various countries. I'm not speaking of from the linguistic point of view, but from the categories that you need to activate in order to achieve a progress. And this is not simple to do. And also to understand what is the basic level. All countries have different levels of digital proficiency. In Italy, for instance, the situation is quite complicated according also to the DESI and PAAC surveys. And also in other countries of the partnership, the situation is still, so you need to understand what's the point of departure, what is a good point of departure for each of the involved countries. How could you take benefit? Well, it's hard to say in a few seconds. Of course, let's speak about this later. If you're interested, I will be hanging around. But of course, this methodology could be included in any upskilling pathways, tailored on the needs of employment agencies, so job counselor agency who are supporting adults who are trying to find new, let's say, reskilling and upskilling opportunities. It is very flexible and it could be approached in many different ways, basing its flexibility and adaptability on the possibility to read the level of entrance of all these individuals and understand how we can support them in order to take them in a better place where they are going to find good job opportunities for their future. Thank you for your attention. It was very, it was very challenging to speak about a 3 years project in such a short time. But of course, let's speak again about this. And if you have any questions, I think that.
Yes, we do have a session now. We have 5 minutes of questions. If there are any questions, please raise your hands. Yeah, do I see? No? Questions? No. Well, you mentioned that it will be targeted for the job seekers, right?
Yeah.
Are you looking into specific job roles that will be
So it is basically tailored at this time. We are piloting it on individuals who are in the services sector and commerce sector. So this is the sectors in which we want to help these individuals in finding new job opportunities. But of course, it could be adapted to many different other sectors. And yeah, this is.
Thank you very much. Oh, I knew the answer because we are partnering this project as well.
I didn't have time to speak about the partnership, but yeah, All Digital is helping us, providing us feedbacks on the quality of what we are doing. And
thank you very much, Andrea.
thank you.
The next project is about helping people, well, as we call them, older adults, to get the grasp with technology. And actually, there are 2 projects that we are realizing now, and I'm inviting my colleague Alessandra Colli to talk together with Nina Page, who is our representative from our Slovenian member called Symbioza. And this will be also quite challenging because they have to present 2 projects in 5 minutes.
Hello everyone, I'm Alessandra Accogli from All Digital. I'm project officer, and I'm here today with Nina, and we're going to present these two projects that are very similar, also in the name actually. And so ICT Skills for All and ICT for the Elderly. Can I go back? Okay. Here we are, ICT Skills for All, so I'm going to focus on that one, and Nina is going to talk to you about ICT for the Elderly. So ICT Skills for All is a project with 5 partners. All Digital is taking care especially of the dissemination of the project. And we have Portugal, University of Porto, they are coordinating. And then we have Poland, Latvia, and UK. And then ICT for the Elderly is actually, we have all the representatives here. So Malta, Switzerland, Symbiosa, and Germany as well. And so what about the projects? So both projects actually aims at fostering the digital skills of older adults aged 55 years and over. And so ICT Skills for the All targets those adults who have minimal or no engagement with digital technology. And since they are quite similar, we try to find what are their special elements, let's say. So ICT Skills for All aims to test which is the best methodology between intergenerational approach, where you have older adults learning from their kids or youngsters, and peer-to-peer approach, where you have older adults learning from other peers. And Nina is going to tell you more about ICT for the Elderly.
Yes, thank you. So ICT for the Elderly, on the other hand, focuses on those who have medium or higher than medium digital skills already, so digital skills level. But what makes the project special is basically that we build on the value of sustainability and aiming to achieve that through the community. For example, the people that will actually take part in the test pilot that we are going to perform are not only there to test the training itself, but they are also the ambassadors, the multipliers, the leaders, the teachers, the talkers in their communities. That will spread the word further, and that will actually engage with their communities also at home. The other concept that actually tries to achieve exactly that, building a community, is actually the concept of wikis. So our content, our output will actually be a part of Wikipedia, the actual Wikipedia, and each wiki will have several sub-chapters that will then connect to the PDF, for example, with learning materials, with exercises, and so on. And this will actually engage, this will actually provide that our project will last longer, will not only be available on the website, but will be also part of an open community that is all the time creating, designing, and reevaluating the content. Both of our projects actually aim to increase the digital skills of older adults, as we know that this is one of the most pressing issues that we face in the digital world, which causes social exclusion, which causes the lack of autonomy. So this is the aim.
Yeah. So what are the lessons learned? ICT Skills for the All, well, we have the 2 outputs already published, so there are 2 reports that you can check actually at the marketplace, and what we learned. So there are 2 reports on the collection of online and in-person educational program. So we learned that since the aim was actually to collect resources for which the efficacy in improving digital skills was evaluating, we saw that many websites, many online platforms lack information regarding their usage. So was it effective or not? And also there is a great need to make these resources, these online resources, user-friendly, because the target is really specific. So we need to have a good visual website. So like even to have it like in bigger writing, let's say. And for the other report, we noticed that we need the peer-to-peer approach was like more used. So what about ICT for the Elderly?
Sorry. Yes, for the ICT for the elderly, actually it's very difficult to say because we are just at the beginning phases of the project. We are now designing the learning materials and so on. But the lessons that we did learn till now is that maybe we should start, for example, that one should start collecting best practices after they know which kind of competences they will actually tackle and so on. So it could be more targeted and more efficient in that way. However, we do, and I would like to expose this, we did experience we did have some discussions about the challenges that are lying ahead of us in the project. One of these, for example, is how to keep the ambassadors, the multipliers, engaged after the pilot. Or the other one is how to, basically after the pilot, how to keep them online. And for example, one of the solutions that we found to that is to feed the materials weekly or on a monthly basis or so on, to basically keep them engaged, keep them connected to us, keep them inside the community, keep the memory of the pilot and so on. So yes, yeah,
and
just
I
some of
think
the solutions.
to conclude, we can just say that both resources, so the reports and the online and in-person resource for both projects will be available for you to use. And it was very difficult, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We have a couple of questions to ladies. Yeah, Peter? No? Okay, thank you very much. I think you managed to grasp it well. So, and yeah, 2 projects, that was very tough, and we know that. So the next lightning talk will be coming from here, from Bologna, and it will be given by the representative of one of our local organizations, co-hosts, Open Group. Actually, Open Group is one of the largest members in our network. If you don't take into account the universities. So I'm inviting Gloria Tinazzi and Simona Benazzi to talk about their projects of how they work for people with disabilities. Something's flying around.
Good morning to everybody. And yes, the project is about communicating without limits for people with intellectual disability. And yes, we are Open Group. This cooperative was founded by 3 other cooperatives active in the fields of media, communication, and education. And we have 6 sectors with 500 operators and various services and users. And we have a brand that is a slow production. Slow production is for people with intellectual disabilities. We have 87 operators and about 120 users with intellectual disabilities. Slow production, the project communicated without limits, aims to use technology to allow people, disabled people who cannot speak, to communicate with everyone through devices, such as simple application with the tablets. And through easy application and programs, people become more and more autonomous, and they have greater possibilities to move around the world and to speak with everyone without an interpreter, but through vocal synthesizers. We have trained first some operators who became a digital coach, and the training of those operators is possible thanks to the collaboration with the ASPI Foundation of Bologna that works out digital technologies to improve the quality of life of people with intellectual disabilities. We have 1 coach for every daily center. And the social impact is about communicating with everyone, starting from resources, needs, and interest, and personalized programs. We started the project with one center, one operator, and one user with problem of speech. And now 10 educators develop steps for users taking into account their desires, their interests, and their resources. Trainers involves users in compilation of digital diaries, cognitive games on memory, and games about the knowledge of one's body and the spaces that surround them. The main achievement is that people can communicate with everyone, and it's a new way of communication and a new kind of exchange through devices such as tablets. The people take pictures, make videos to show what they do during the day, both in their home and in the daily center. And they share their experience, and when we are not able to talk or to explain, they can show images. We use sim writer programs, images, where someone is not able to write or to talk. And we always experiment a new application that teach while playing. Personalized, personalized programs allow people, for example, to compile a shopping list and to go to the bar and to order a coffee without interpreter, but using vocal synthesizers. This increases the quality of life of disabled people. And where we are,
What would keep the same? We would keep the same about investment in training as first important thing to decide to do. In the purchase of technology, in the creation of technological classroom for its center. The money invested is from the cooperative and throughout public announcement. Thanks to this project, we have equipped the 5 center with various digital devices. We use a tablet, touchscreen, PC, Kinect, video projector, Makey, Click for All, microphones, and free educational programs, apps, and tutorials. And finally, writing a program SimWriter for the alternative augmented communication. We use also application providing information about the movement of the person with disabilities, like geolocalizer. After an equipe discussion, we decided the steps and the goal of the project, and each center choose which tools to buy. Basically, in all our center, it's possible to find a touchscreen computer, a video projector, a tablet, and one license of SimWriter program. The supply of basic material costs around 1,700 euros, and another 500 euros should be added to have more complete packages, including Kinect, touchpad with larger keys for people with low vision or problem with movement, Click for All or Makey. In the written communication with family through personal tablet, the expense for the purchase of a tablet is charged to the family themselves. On the contrary, for the application, except from SimWriter, we have choose a free and open source application in order not to burden families with additional expenses. How can participant benefit? The participant benefit from finding that our experience shows important without massive investment. It's impossible to give people with disabilities the possibility of developing more effective and inclusive communication. Using technological tools, we have been able to show improvement both in terms of language and in terms of autonomy of choice and self-determination of people with disabilities. We believe that networking with issues such as this of great impact and relevance in the life of people with disability can create new synergies and can open a new shared project about this question. In addition to the subject that already operated in management of disability, the synergies could be implemented with companies that develop software and hardware in order to design on the specific need of user program, application, and innovative digital tools. That's it all, sorry.
It was much over the time. So we cannot, thank you very much, but we cannot ask questions now. But yes. You've seen the donkey, right? So you can go at the project marketplace and see how this is the examples, how they're working with people, trying to help them communicate. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the final project for today is also the project that All Digital is doing with partners, and all of them are also here in this summit. And I invite my colleague and husband, Ian Clifford, to talk about Digital Skill Shift project. Please, Ian.
Hello. Finally, they put me on the stage again, last. I think one of the things that we've been asked to do is talk about the lessons learned and the things that we've done as a result of the project. This project hasn't finished. This project's hardly started. So one of the lessons that I'm going to tell you about is never to let Stefano, Alteo, Achilles, Peter loose with PowerPoint ever again. So the point is, this project is, I hope that the picture tells a tale. And already I've moved on. No, thank you. Yes, it's gone back. So the picture tells a tale, and it's from the 1940s. And in fact, these ladies are likely to be the colleagues, or would have been the colleagues of Mr. Golinelli, because they would be in their 90s now. They've learnt a lot. They learnt new skills. They learnt how to weld. We can learn new stuff. We can help other people to learn new stuff. This project is in partnership with Fondazione Patricio Paoletti, with Stiftung Digital Chancen, with Simplon, with Y-Internet, who are doing the evaluation, and I wish to just comment on your comments about the evaluation, and I'll come on to this in a minute. You can leave that slide up. The evaluation will look at the impact on employers, not just on the learner. So we'll look at the detailed and deeper stuff, and Collectic are building us a platform. So we did some research, and the research, and I'm not sure if you can read that, but we asked people about whether employers, what they perceive to be the challenges, the digital disruption to your sector in the next few years. And the thing that came out most of all, and I can't tell whether you can read that or not, on the left-hand side, is digital working tools. Those are the things that we use on a daily basis, things like Basecamp and Dropbox and Google Docs and all of that stuff. That was the stuff that came out. And in terms of where people use technology, teamwork and collaboration, content and data management, those were the things that spiked as results that were things that were relevant. So we're going to build a curriculum, and we had a project meeting on Wednesday. This was the curriculum, so this is a work in progress. It's evolved a bit. It was going to be in three kind of areas, one which looked at a kind of a content role, a communications kind of role, one which was more about project management, project sort of delivery, and the third one which was more about sales. It's going to morph into a single kind of curriculum that's going to look at a kind of digital assistant, an entry level. And again, I'm going to go back to some of the statements you said at the start about people are afraid of robots stealing their jobs. It's 72% of Europeans are afraid of robots stealing their jobs. But more than that, and I've got a couple more statistics that I just want to get right, 55% of digital jobs are not in the ICT sector. And 84% of digital jobs are not highly qualified. So we're talking about entry-level jobs. We're talking about people trying to find a way into the digital world and help them to get over this disruption that's caused by AI or robotics or automation or Internet of Things or whatever it is, the latest, the next, and there's many of them, and that's what people are afraid of. They're afraid of change, and we've got to try and take that fear away from them. So we're building a platform and a system that will be a curriculum for you to use, that you'll be able to pick up and probably be able to use. Some of you will be able to use it during All Digital Week next year. Probably only at the moment in Germany and in Italy. So any of the partners here who might want to come and talk to me about that. But it's going to look at people, and it's going to try and help transform people and help them to understand that it's not scary. It shouldn't be scary. It's not difficult. They can learn these skills. Because if they learned these skills, if they learned how to use machine tools in a very short space of time, then we can learn how to use these tools. And I mean, this statement here, afraid of a machine taking your job, own it. Own it doesn't mean literally own the machine. I don't know whether I need to explain this statement, but in the UK, it's a sense of you own that machine. That is your machine. You know how to use it. It's yours. So that's what we want to try and do, get people to understand how to overcome that fear of machines, that fear of the technology, and that's kind of about it. Let me just check I didn't miss anything. Even if I did, you can come and talk to me afterwards. That's it.
Any questions to any of the presenters? Yeah, because now it's time for the coffee break. Thank you very much. Thank you for all our... Oh yes, don't forget to come in half an hour to greet Mr. Marino Golinelli for his birthday, because we want to say happy birthday in all the languages. Thank you very much to our keynote speakers, to panelists, and to Lightning Talk presenters. And we'll meet after the coffee break. Enjoy the coffee break. Thank you.